Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GamersGrove podcast, episode 8. Today is Monday, March 26th, 2018. I am your host, Will, here with my co-hosts, Austin and Brady.
Hello, hello.
Hey.
Hello, everybody. So for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we are a group of people who play video games a bit more than your average video game person, but we like to make a podcast to inform you of what's going on in the world of gaming and give you some insight into games maybe you've never heard about. Give you the basic rundown for your just more casual video game guys. Today we are going to be talking about Fortnite's profits that it has been making in the past few months, the possibility of a new Star Wars open world game, Cyberpunk 2077 details, and much, much more. But before we get into any of that, we're going to start with some games we've played. So, do either of you have any games you've been playing lately you want to bring to the table?
Yeah, I'll start off today. So last week I mentioned I've been playing Battlefield 3 quite a bit, and I've continued playing Battlefield 3, but now I'm kind of progressing, and I'm just comparing the two with Battlefield 4. If you haven't played them before, they're, not open world, but they're giant game FPS with a lot of big destruction levels. Big levels, giant games. The disc is really big, big maps, a lot of destruction, just really big levels, which is kind of different than, I guess, the Call of Duties. I've been playing Battlefield 4 now more this week, and it's really interesting just to see how DICE and EA progressed in making the game a lot better and just more fine-tuned, and how they honestly improved the Frostbite engine which it runs on, it's really impressive. The Frostbite engine, the Battlefield 3 I think was on 2.0 and Battlefield 4 is on 4.0, and the new Battlefronts are on 4.0 or 3.0. So, just a comparison, even in the 3.0, how they improved. But, yeah, Battlefield 4, great game. And the engine's just makes it look so nice.
You gotta shoot me some invites soon, man. I actually have that installed.
Oh, yeah.
Battlefield 3, so I didn't play, but...
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Austin and that was our game back in the day.
Yeah, that was our go-to.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say then Battlefield 4 is better than 3? Because you seemed like you were really enjoying 3 before. I
don't know. I really liked Battlefield 3 levels or their maps and everything. And it's almost like a little bit more simplified. Battlefield 4 obviously looks better, and they do have cool maps, and there's a lot more weapons and everything to it. But I don't know. I really like Battlefield 3. I probably like it more than 4 just because that's the one I played the most and really got into Battlefield on that.
I feel like 3 feels more like an arcade type shooter than 4. I mean, they're both arcade shooters, but but 4 is kind of more, I guess, there's more depth to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like system and level design and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's
whereas
good
Battlefield 3 is more linear. I really liked playing free for all and TDM on that. But Battlefield 4, it was all about the
conquest large.
Conquest, large.
Yeah, the giant maps and destruction. Which because they kind of that was good back to Frostbite, where they made a lot of new features that were actually kind of next gen at the time. They had a dynamic weather system in a game, and moving parts on the map and everything, and it's kind of cool at the time.
And giant secret sharks.
Oh yeah, the megalodon or whatever.
I remember that. I always wonder, games seem to have a fascination with dynamic weather systems, which is cool. But
in an FPS, it's kind of different, and especially an arcade shooter, no one really expects it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, I have been playing. I mentioned it last week. I've been playing Nier Automata. I will say my opinion on it has evolved. Before last week, yes, in a very good way. Last week, I said it was a pretty good game. It's really good, really fun. Now I'm going to say it is the best game I have ever played.
Man, did you play? Statement. You progress in the story and stuff, which made you decide that, or just kind of more thinking about it?
Both. Where I was last week when I was talking about it, I had beaten it for the third time.
Oh, damn! I didn't realize you've beaten it that many times.
Well,
Is it short?
this game goes in. It's hard to say, but basically every playthrough is vastly different.
Oh,
Like it's
yeah, that's
essentially
right.
new game plus, but it is very different each time you play. So it adds a lot, like even story wise, with each playthrough. But yeah, so last week I had beaten it for the third time. After a couple of days ago, I have now beaten it for the fifth time, which is kind of when you get the true ending.
True, and you have to beat it 5
Yeah.
times to get the really
Yeah, I honestly, like, if you want to understand and appreciate the full scope of this game, you have to play it at least 5 times. That sounds ridiculous, but trust me, it's not as bad as it sounds.
How many times?
How long did it take you? To
Yeah,
play
yeah,
through
exactly.
once?
I have about, I think, 40 hours logged, 35 to
Okay.
40. But that is also a lot of me, like, exploring, doing side quests. Like, I think if you were to just power through the main storyline and do nothing else, it'd be maybe 20 hours, I'd say,
For 5
give
times.
or take. Yeah, for 5 times, if you were to do it, like, 5 times.
That's not
If
bad.
you play through it once, it's, like, 8 to 10 hours, maybe.
And
That's
it
not
kind of gets
bad.
faster.
Yeah, definitely. But I still I have so much I want to say about this game. But I'm trying to keep myself restrained because I am working on a 2-part article for the website where I'm really gonna go as in depth as I possibly can into this. So for here, I'll just leave you with some anticipation with saying it is genuinely the best game I have ever played. It is the best use of the video game medium to date. It's great. I don't know. I can't go on enough about this game.
And
But-
the creator wears a cool
Yes.
Mask.
Yoko Taro, the creator, is insane. He's weird, he's awesome, and he's a genius. But I will get into all the more details if you want to hear about that, so I don't waste an hour talking about it here. I'll have the first part of the article up for you sometime within the next week. The second
Sweet.
part, I do not know yet, but hopefully within a week after the first one releases. But I'm not going to make promises on that. So that really, I think, does it for games we played this week. Yeah.
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I haven't played much. It's been
Alright.
kind of a down week.
Cool.
Fair enough. Well, then let's jump right over into the news. The first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that Fortnite is making so much money,
Yeah.
hand over fist. In the month of February, they made $126 million. That is not including their newly released mobile stuff. So, it's safe to say that the free-to-play platform is a good way to make money, and you don't have to be scummy about it, other developers.
Seriously.
It's I don't know. I guess it's just the product of making a really good game, honestly, I think is what it comes down to, because really the only time you spend money in that game is to give yourself more cosmetic stuff. It's like even the battle pass, all that does is give you more XP and give you the chance to unlock more cosmetics.
Yep.
So the fact that they're making all that money just from that, unless maybe there's something else that they get money from that we don't know about, but it's pretty cool.
I mean, there's like Save the World and all that, which costs like $200, but
That's true. Does anybody even play that anymore though?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
surprisingly a lot of people do.
Really?
Really?
Surprised. Yeah, because when I got charged for that accidentally.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I was kind of
that's
looking
right.
into the like forums and stuff about it, and a lot of people play it still. I'm really surprised.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have actually been wanting to check that out. I figured, see what game created or caused the game we have now.
Yeah.
But
I didn't check it out, even though I paid for it.
against your will.
Yeah. But to compare to PUBG, in PUBG is not free to play. They're one-time purchase, although they do have microtransactions. But PUBG in February had $103 million in sales just from one-time $30 software licenses. So even if PUBG's not free to play, but Fortnite, they're not making as much as Fortnite.
Yeah.
And
So,
people, another mobile analytics firm, Sensor Tower, they estimate that in the first week, Epic Games had Fortnite Mobile on iOS that they made as much as $1.5 million in the first week. So
that's crazy.
I mean, mobile is like, I feel like it's notorious for microtransactions. I almost feel like that's kind of where it like grew and, you know, thrived, and other people or, you know, devs for other platforms saw as an opportunity.
Farmville, dude.
Yeah, Farmville.
That's where it started. Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying though, about free to play games, it seems like PUBG, they don't really make you pay for cosmetics as much, because I noticed I'm logging in and I'm getting points and I can actually unlock and open crates with those points. I don't have to buy keys for it like I do on the PC or console version.
Oh, you're talking about just the mobile version?
Just the mobile version, yeah. So it seems like they're kind of following suit almost with that. Like they realize their mobile audience isn't going to want to necessarily purchase items.
And that,
go ahead. I think it's also that they're obviously never going to say this, but I bet you behind the scenes, both developers, PlayerUnknown's group, I don't know what they're called, and Epic Games, Bluehole, thank you. I think they're both probably walking on eggshells here, because like we're still recovering from the Battlefront 2 debacle. And like, so now anytime any company from here on out does even something slightly greedy, they're probably going to get eaten alive by the consumers.
But in terms of PUBG Mobile, Tencent's the one who, you know, like published that and stuff. So I guess it kind of goes back on them, and they're kind of just like a conglomerate there in China and like own everything. So kind of they can't really be touched. It's a little criticism from them. It's kind of just like brush off the shoulder, like whatever. We're making money, so
that is actually true. Eastern world game companies just don't really care. You know, like if they see an avenue to get the money and it works, they don't care how much criticism they get. But for the moment, they're being good.
Yeah.
So that's good for them.
Yeah. But to go back up the Fortnite real fast, I think it could, you know, Fortnite's like becoming a lot more popular than PUBG right now for a couple of reasons. But I think the main one is just it's more like the learning curve for Fortnite is a lot easier than PUBG. I don't really know. I don't really know why, but I just feel like, you know, it's not as serious, or, you know, it's maybe because it's
not
the
as gory
art style.
Too. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, like
it's got a wider range of like age groups.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It appeals to younger audiences, so more people will go in there. Because I know, everyone plays Fortnite, and you don't. It's not really that way with PUBG.
Yeah, everyone knows if you mention Fortnite, everyone says, "Ugh, Fortnite," or
if
you say, you know, PUBG or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, they're like, "Huh, what's that?"
Yeah, exactly.
So it's definitely like caught on to the mainstream culture, mainstream media.
Yep.
I think a big part of it is also not a huge part, but like I think this definitely contributes is the fact that games don't last as long in Fortnite versus PUBG.
Oh yeah,
that's a very minor detail, but I think it makes a big difference.
Yep.
It's free. Games are short. It appeals to more audiences. Its cartoony look makes it look more inviting, even because you got to think like Fortnite's like this. Oh, it's kind of cute, cartoony, like shoot 'em up game, and then you have PUBG, which is like the world's most realistic shooter. It's like whoa, you know. That
also,
might
PUBG is kind of following that quicker pace. It seems like, and when they just released footage of their 4x4 kilometer map, which is supposed to really pick up the game speed. So
yeah,
I think they're kind of
makes it the way it looks right now. It looks like PUBG is playing catch up to Fortnite, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just like in this great race of ours of the battle royale games, Fortnite is definitely in the lead right now.
Yeah,
and PUBG is doing whatever they can to catch up with them.
Yeah, and I mean I mentioned this before. I think I mentioned that article I wrote about Fortnite Mobile, but competition is really good. Competition is what drives each company to make new things and take more risks to get the
innovation.
audience back. Yeah, get innovation. So
Absolutely.
this is good. And
That
hopefully,
being said, still big PUBG fan over Fortnite.
yeah, no, I agree.
I don't even know where I stand anymore. They're both fun. I'll leave it at that. I'm
Fair
tired
enough.
of arena shooters already. On the topic of making lots of money, Steam has made even more money.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course. They have reported, I think this is in the last quarter, I think, $4.3 billion in revenue. Half of that, interestingly enough, only coming from their top 100 games of the 21,000 games that are available on Steam. That's insane.
Yeah, and I think this is the last year because it says
Last year.
yeah.
That's
'Cause
a lot for a quarter.
Yeah, I was like, damn, because they
You're right,
they saw an increase in sales revenue of $800 million last year, so it's on the
Interesting.
definitely on the rise.
Interesting you say that because the top earner, which kind of really picked up ground about last year, PUBG, has made them $600 million. So most of that new revenue seems to be coming from PUBG.
Yeah, that's
Ding.
crazy. And
It
that was
is.
its number one earner, right?
Yes, that was the
Okay.
number one earner.
It just goes to show, the battle royale is the next. We've been
It's the new
saying this
thing.
over and over again. It's
Yeah.
the next craze or whatever.
Yeah,
It was like the
it
zombie
is.
survival, and then it was like
Open
the
It
world.
was.
sandbox survival.
Yeah.
Was
I like how we all had a different answer. There. Well, at some point we were all right. Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
true.
yeah.
But right now, we can all agree it is battle royale shooters,
Yeah.
and that seems it's gonna stay that way for probably another, I'd say, 2 years before we find something new that draws everyone's attention.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also, their revenue didn't include microtransactions, DLCs, or in-app purchases. So
Oh, wow.
that's-
Really?
yeah. So that, like, I know CS:GO, Crate, and really any game that has microtransactions and a community market or whatever. So that's a lot of
insane.
missing revenue. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's another like $1 billion just in in DLC and microtransactions. So yes.
I can't believe that. I mean, I guess like when a summer sale or any Steam sale comes along, I do buy like 5 games every time.
Yeah.
It's like,
But I mean,
I
I
know how
think
to hook people.
on big game releases, there's when they make all their money.
Yeah, definitely so. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Steam.
Yeah.
You
Now
gonna
put
be-
that money to good use.
Yeah, make some games again.
Yeah, exactly. Finish Source 2. Hire more people.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Someday.
One day. Speaking of new games, though, we have rumors of a open world Star Wars game by EA. So that sounds good and bad to me.
Yes. Sounds
Mostly
good.
bad.
This is coming from a internal jobs board.
Yes.
There was a post looking for a developer to create a open world Star Wars project. I think was the quote.
Mm-hmm. So that could mean many things, and so I think it's for EA Vancouver, which I don't know. I think is that who made the Battlefront series?
I think
I mean, it
Battlefront
was
was honestly
DICE,
just like
But
I don't know which studio like front headed it, but it was just kind of like a company wide operation.
Okay, yeah, because it'll be interesting to see what they do with it, or like what their direction is going. I think it's gonna be like a Knights of the Old Republic kind of open world game. I know
I want that so bad, but I don't want it from EA.
I mean, because
They've learned their lesson.
Obsidian,
No, they
made
haven't.
one of them. So
Okay,
Get
they
me
just
started.
released all the Battlefront 2 characters and villains and their ships though for free.
Okay.
You don't have to buy any
but
of them.
but I mean, think of the other
Yeah.
games EA has made though, like Battlefield and The Sims.
Yeah, all the goods. All
Titanfall.
the good goods.
Those
Titanfall
Mass
was
Effect.
great.
Titanfall 1 sucked.
Titanfall 2 was
Titanfall
great.
2 was
Titanfall 1
great.
only sucked because it didn't have a campaign.
Do you guys okay? Listen to the pattern you guys are making.
I know they make a mistake and
they
they fix
release
it.
one game bad and then they redo it and it's like okay.
But this
except
will-
with Battlefront, they've screwed it up twice.
But this will
Somehow
be
worse
like the
second
third
time.
Star Wars game. Third time's the
Okay,
charm.
well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's got to
man.
be good, man. Third time's a
I
charm
don't-
rule.
No, EA does not abide by those rules. But also, on that stuff, like Visceral was making a Star Wars game that looked to be fairly open world-ish, and then EA just
Yeah.
chopped them down.
Yeah.
I think this
Give 'em
isn't
the
like
hammer.
where that kind of died. This kind of was created, maybe.
Probably. I wonder though, like if that is the case, then like why did they shut down Visceral in the first place?
Well, I
you
think
know?
was Visceral's like a single player Star Wars? Okay.
It
and
was.
I think so.
Another theory is I think this could be to compete with CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077. What was that? Well,
don't even. That's
no,
stupid.
No, but I mean honestly though, like I could totally see them, wanting to get a sliver in this open world RPG type
Oh,
of
definitely.
thing, because
I
I mean
think-
they don't
Bring 'em
really
all.
they don't really have any kind of like open world like game like that.
No,
EA.
they don't. I can't think of anything.
I mean, I don't know if Mass Effect, but I don't really count that. That's more story driven.
Mass Effect doesn't count. It's like levels, big levels,
Yeah.
but levels
So-
regardless.
it's got the illusion of being open world, though.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
But I mean,
I don't know.
in what kind of another okay, let's see let's rule out what EA could do bad. So what, like, how could you add microtransactions into an open world? Or what open world has
It's like an MMO.
microtransactions?
If it's okay,
Star Wars
let's-
MMO.
Okay, well, think of-
transactions.
with the assumption that it is an open world RPG,
Uh-huh.
what could you do
What- okay.
scummily?
Well,
Paywalls.
yes.
For locking out certain areas. You level caps. Gear, I suppose. There's believe me.
Okay.
If there's something they could do, they will do it.
What? Okay, let's take out microtransactions. What if there's no microtransactions? Then
Okay.
what could they do wrong?
They could rush it. This is
All right.
something we've seen them do
Yeah,
in the past.
that's
the big
true.
the big difference, okay, especially comparing. I'm glad you mentioned CD Projekt Red because they're a perfect comparison for
Mm-hmm.
this example. CD Projekt Red works at their own pace.
Yeah.
They're not a public company, I don't believe, so
No.
they don't have deadlines. They work until the game is done.
Mm-hmm.
EA is a public company, and a lot of times it keeps shareholders happy because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, they're the ones that matter. They will rush a game out if it's like the end of the third quarter and they need a game out. They will rush that out, and they will.
That's true.
Even if the developer's like, "Yo, we've completed like 1/4 of this game, we're nowhere near ready," they'll be like, "Too bad. We'll deal with the PR disaster."
Hey, what about Anthem? Delaying that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
still a
Wait,
thing
Anthem
even?
is open world actually too, isn't it?
that's true. Yeah, Anthem's
Okay,
going to be an
that'll
open
be.
world
Well,
game.
maybe we could see how they're gonna. We could see what they could see what mistakes they make in Anthem, and then
Yeah, they'll see what mistakes BioWare makes with Anthem, shut them down, and then make their Star Wars game.
maybe they'll. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll put BioWare on the
This
Star
is
Wars
stressing
game.
me out.
Wait, because BioWare made one of the Knights of the Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah, BioWare made Knights of the Old Republic 1, which is dope.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man.
Going
what?
back to the beginning of this discussion, how that single player Star Wars game was axed. I realized in my notes I'd written down that Patrick Soderlund, or however you say his name,
Yeah.
stated that the reason that they cut that is because they wanted to create a game that players would come back to, which kind of goes with appeasing the stock, the shareholders. A game that can be replayed, and they could fit some microtransactions into.
Okay.
that is the scummiest sounding
and so
thing I've ever heard.
I think that.
I
feel
mean,
like
I
that's
get it.
kinda
That
why. It
that
all lines
definitely
up.
like, yes, it does. But I mean, like, think about that. They're like, hey, we told you guys to make a single player game, but we don't really want that, so we're just gonna shut you down.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, essentially that's what happened. Because like, who do you think told them to make it in the first place? It was EA.
Yeah.
I don't know. They could have asked them to like integrate multiplayer, but I get it though. Like replayability is the thing to have nowadays.
Yeah.
All right,
It still sucks for Visceral.
another theory though. What if it's like a SWOTR type game to compete with like WoW?
Ooh.
An MMO that
Yeah,
already
MMO.
exists.
Well, I know
Nice of the
SWOTR.
A new one,
public.
though.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I'm saying, what if it's like that to compete? I mean, how old's
that would
SWOTR?
just. I think if they did that, they would have to shut down SWOTR first, because otherwise they're just tearing their audiences in between their two games, and then neither of them are gonna thrive.
Oh wait, EA makes SWOTR?
Yeah, because it's it's ZeniMax, which is a child company to BioWare.
Oh, okay, I see.
BioWare is
Okay, I never knew that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised though if they shut it down. But yeah, I mean, I could see. I guess if I don't know, I could see them doing that because WoW it's really, I feel like profitable, and it's you know, how the game is with the expansions every couple years and all the other kind of stuff. And I think I guess Anthem will kind of be like that too, but it's at least if they do it right and they have an actual audience. But I
would be shocked if it were a MMO, to be honest.
Yeah. But I mean, then again, that could compete with Cyberpunk too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. This is all huge theory craft. I'm sure come E3. Well, I don't even think we'll hear anything about this E3. If they're just posting job listings about it, it won't be till like next E3 where we really start learning details. So
yeah, definitely.
It's a long time out for this to ever like amount to anything. But yeah. Speaking on Cyberpunk 2077, we've got some new deets about that. Some juicy deets indeed. We have confirmed now. We have confirmed that it is going to have classes just like the tabletop RPG. Heavily customizable like classes, I believe they said. They also the CEO was asked about multiplayer. He chose not to comment, but he saying that they're gonna focus on the story for now, but that he wasn't saying no to multiplayer. So I take that as they're obviously doing what they do best first, which is their super in-depth single player story modes, and then later on they're gonna rope in multiplayer and all that, which is cool to me.
Didn't they actually, wasn't part of the grant from the government for multiplayer though?
Yes, it was to create seamless multiplayer. Technically though, that wasn't for Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, true.
Everyone just assumes, because that's the project they're working on right now, so that it's most likely going to be, and I still think that is the case. But technically speaking, it's not. So like it could be for anything. It could just be for some little side project that they're making for the government, for all we know.
Yeah, right. But they also in this article that we'll link, they mentioned that the CEO, I don't know his name actually, it's kind of bad, or Kaczynski, I think. Yeah, but he mentioned that it's technology wise it's going to be like very, quote, very advanced. So it even said they'll be ready to interface with future generations. So this may be for like future console generations maybe, or new technology that's maybe isn't out yet, or they're anticipating new things to come out.
It seems like a lot of people have been talking about next generation consoles already.
Yeah, which
I mean, it's getting to be about that time, right?
I mean, the like PS4 Pro or the Xbox One S or whatever, that was just like last E3.
It makes me wonder if you'll see like stuff at this E3 for next.
Yeah, true.
Because everyone's talking about it, multiple companies.
Well, it's the classic problem of technology is advancing too quickly.
Yeah, that's so true.
And we cannot keep up. It's because like even with CD Projekt like doing that, like that sounds really cool, but all I can think of is that means it's not going to be able to run like on anything except high-end systems.
That's the first thing I thought of too.
This isn't uncommon for CD Projekt Red. Like there were some stories, I don't know if they were true or not, or people were exaggerating, but like back in the day of Witcher 2, there was one setting that basically turned on hair physics for Geralt, the main character, and people claimed it made their computers explode. Like, they do like they
Those
always
insane
push
hair physics, man. Blew up
Dude,
my PC.
that's not a joke. Hair is the most difficult thing to render.
I feel like
in
grass
games.
is worse.
I mean, I feel like they're kind of the same though in a way, but
Yes and no. I think I'm a hair guy. It's hair is
Yes,
the
we see
PC
that.
killer. Yes, my luscious locks that I have not cut in forever. But yeah, like hair, like because you think about it, you're rendering out like millions upon millions of strands of hair because that's how they do it. They do it like an animation would, or an animated film, and that is you need a supercomputer to run that stuff. But
Really?
just for hair. But so yeah, I mean it's not too out there that they would be trying to push the limits. I do worry though that if it's too much, then the game becomes too exclusive, and then they don't make any sales.
yeah, I don't.
But I'm sure they can also go the complete opposite route to where like you can make it look amazing on the best systems, but it could probably also run fine and not look great, but run fine on like consoles and
I mean,
tier PCs.
It's easier to downscale graphics than it is to upscale, so it'd be smarter
True.
to make it on the higher end
Yeah, that's true.
requirements, and then just downscale it to lower end requirements, or like Xbox One, PlayStation 4.
Yeah, that is very true.
But
But
I mean,
have it
Yep.
prepared for next gen.
yeah. Think of like Kingdom Come though. That was like it ran really bad, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to look good.
Well, that was a whole different situation. That
I mean,
was a
sure.
time and
That
money
was-
constraint.
Yeah, that is true.
It's a lot better now. that
Yeah,
they,
I mean,
have
yeah.
more money and they had more time to
Yeah.
make the patches.
Or I mean, I guess PUBG too.
Yeah.
runs
yeah,
like
PUBG
shit.
still runs like shit though.
Yeah. Something I thought was interesting about this article is people talked about like the fact that having multiple classes was like dispelling the rumor that there would only be one class, but it's weird because that was something that never popped up in my head. Just from the out the gate when they announced this, I figured they were gonna have multiple classes because like the first thing they said when they announced this way back in the day was that we're gonna keep it as true to the tabletop RPG as possible, and like they work with the creator of the tabletop RPG, like he's their like creative consultant and stuff to make sure that they are staying true. So I don't know why people thought like, oh, they're not gonna have classes when like having classes is a huge part of Cyberpunk 2020.
Yeah, that's. I wonder if it was because maybe they thought it was gonna be a different way. Like there's gonna be classes, but maybe they weren't as so defined as they thought it was gonna be. Like when you create a character, it's like, oh, pick your class. It's almost like, all right, you could go down this path or this path, and that'll be
That's true.
what you do or whatever.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I suppose. But I'm glad it's not that. I'm glad they are going full out, like fully customize your character to be however you want it to be,
Yeah,
gameplay and looks wise, I hope. But
we'll find
Yeah.
more about it at E3 because I think he actually said that there'll be things announced at E3.
Just before the E3 show.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait for that.
Pumped.
Super pumped. All right, well, with that, next on our list is this little game that just recently came out called A Way Out. Austin knows a bit about this one, so I'm going to let him take charge. Tell us about it, Austin.
So A Way Out is developed by Hazelight, which the game they previously released that you all might remember is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
Yes.
So it's very similar to that game where you have to kind of there's two parties, and you're working together to solve puzzles and whatnot. Only you're playing with another person this time. And it's like a split screen. You see each other's screens. And you have to work together to break out of prison, basically. And then the story develops from there. But it's basically like a narrative adventure with a little bit of action.
Interesting.
So you play as Vincent, who's like the smart guy. He's kind of brainy to some degree. And then Leo, who's kind of like the muscle, the guy who gets shit done. Just kind of jumps into things.
Okay.
But there's a lot of cutscenes. It's kind of cinematic. It's almost like an interactive movie, I guess I'd say.
dig that.
I'm cool with that.
But the cool thing about it is only one person needs to own a copy, and then you can invite a friend. They just have to download the free demo version, and then they can play with you. So really only one person needs to buy the game, and then also it'll save off of your progress. So basically you can play through half of it with one friend, and then say your friend's like busy that day, you can play through the rest of it with another friend, and it'll save off of where you left off. So that's kind of neat, I think.
Yeah.
'Cause you don't have to rely on someone being there to play through it. At the same time, I'd personally probably rather wait for my friend to come back. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, can you
gotta
can
ditch
you
your
have
buddy.
like multiple saves? So it's like I can have like a playthrough with Brady, and I can have a playthrough with you, and they be two separate things, or is it like there's only one?
I'm not sure, but I imagine there's probably multiple ways to save. You know, like it's like any other save feature.
Right. I would hope
You
so.
just reload to it, but yeah.
Although, I guess that might answer my main concern, because my thing with that, like, it is really cool that only one of you has to buy the game, but I worry that you could exploit the crap out of that and just like tell every single one of your friends, like, hey, like, don't buy this game, I've got it, let's just play with me.
Yeah, for
But if
sales.
there is only one save slot, and no matter who you play with continues off it, that would kind of discourage that. So that might be a counter to that if that's something they're worried about. I don't know. I guess I could just read about it.
be like Konami and sell more save slots.
No, I
Yeah.
think it's really cool what they're doing. It's kind of I don't know. It's different.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
it
a lot
is.
of companies do anything like that.
Yeah, I hope-
That is a very cool deal.
And they don't seem worried about it. You know, they're not like, buy the game, but if you can't play it, they're like, fuck it, just buy one, play with your buddy. Like, it's stupid to buy two
Yeah.
copies.
That's cool.
Don't
Because I was
worry
just
about it.
just gonna say, hopefully, like it actually does well in sales. That they continue. But if they don't care, then honestly, though, sometimes that helps in marketing, where people, they want to support them, so they'll just buy it anyways.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, like when the game, when it first came out, it was like the most viewed game on Twitch at like
Oh, Way Out was?
400,000. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Nice.
Like,
Also, that came out
Four-
on the 23rd, I believe. Should
Oh,
mention
okay.
that. A couple days ago.
this is
It's
still very
26
new.
today.
But yeah, I mean, it was the most viewed thing on Twitch. By like, I think had like 400,000 something viewers. So
Nice.
people want to
That's
see
cool.
it.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, that's good then.
Yeah, it's very cool. I guess, I mean, yeah, if they're not worried about it, then whatever.
Yeah,
I guess
really.
it will come down to like, maybe they have their money secured through another avenue, investors or something. Or
Yeah,
maybe they
I was just gonna say, yeah, investors, but maybe it didn't take
But-
a lot to make it.
Yeah. One thing I do want to know, if you know, is this like, the whole I buy it, you guys don't have to, is that like a deal, or is this a permanent thing?
It's a permanent thing.
Wow. That's cool.
far as I'm
That's
aware.
Really cool.
Yeah, they didn't mention anything about it being limited time or anything. It's just because that would be a good promo stunt, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's permanent. You just need one copy.
Sweet.
That's insanely cool, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like that's being said, you can't play it without your friend who owns it. So you
Right.
can only play with the person who owns the copy.
Whenever they're around. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Still pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat little game. I'd check it out.
Last thing on it before we move on. Can I play it by myself?
I was just thinking about that.
No,
Really?
Oh, interesting.
So
I don't
it's
think
only
so.
co-op.
I think it's only co-op. Yeah, which is kind of like I like the idea because it's very unique. And I listened to an interview with the developer. I think it was like last E3 or something. It was a long time ago, but he was talking about how is supposed to be completely like groundbreaking technique, or not technique, but groundbreaking like system
Technology.
technology, I guess.
Yeah.
Just it'll do it in a way that nothing else has been done, and I don't think another game has done something like this.
Yeah.
Nothing I could think of.
You have like split screen games, but you don't have split screen like co-op where you're actually like working together, and the split screen is a tool to help that be achieved.
Yeah.
So
Split screen's always like, don't look at my screen, no cheating.
That is cool. They definitely, I mean, like even Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons was, besides having a great story, was somewhat of a technical achievement with its
Yeah.
like interacting, like using both brothers to solve puzzles and stuff.
Mhm.
So it's cool that they're sticking with their, pushing the boundaries on what can be done.
Definitely.
It's always cool. Well, next up on our list, Warframe. I don't know why it's spaced out there. Warframe cut out some microtransaction things that was making them an insane amount of profit because they didn't want it to become an exploit, essentially. So what the microtransaction was there's these pets you can get in Warframe. I guess before even that, Warframe is as a space like hack and slash shoot 'em up type game. You go to levels, you fight bad guys, you get loot, you upgrade your guy, rinse and repeat.
It's free to play.
As part of that, and it's free to play. It's a really good game.
Yes.
Part of that, you can get little pets. They're like dogs essentially. They're called Kubos, and you could spend platinum, which is their digital currency. That you give like real money for. You could spend platinum to get different like skins and colors for your Kubos, but it worked in a sort of random loot boxy sort of way where you weren't essentially guaranteed to know what you're gonna get, and so it was like a harmless enough thing. It's just all cosmetic. It doesn't really provide any in-game bonuses, but they saw that people were just like spam buying it in the hundreds just to get what they want or to just collect everything, and they didn't want that, so they removed it, which is cool in a way. They said that they want to just like stay focused and let it be known that it's not their intent to just money grub people, and I mean they proved it by getting rid of their most profitable microtransaction thing.
Mm-hmm.
The team behind Warframe is probably one of my favorite teams out there. They're so good with the community, and like I used to be really, really into that game. They always had live dev blogs and stuff, always constantly adding content, always constantly talking to people in the community. And they're still doing that, and so this is another one of those free-to-play games that really did it right.
Mm-hmm. I think I would honestly say, as of right now, they are probably, in terms of like community engagement and like listening to your audience, they are probably the best company out there right now. Like Epic Games is up there as being really good. They do listen to their fans in Fortnite, but like these guys take it a step further. Like they do weekly streams. They, on their off days, some of the devs will stream the game and talk with the community. They do all sorts of stuff.
And play
like,
with their community members too. They'll play with people.
They're always doing something with their community and always growing and listening to what the community wants or what they like and don't like. It's really cool to see.
And the original release date for this game was in 2013 too. So here we are 5 years later, and they're still doing it. Still doing a great job. And
it's still like one of the most played games on Steam. It's always, I think it's always within at least like the top 25 like most played games on Steam. Like it shows, it is a very well-made game, and it shows when you listen to your community, your game will thrive and continue to live.
Yeah, a lot of other devs and publishers need to really look after or take after, what they do.
Yeah,
because I know,
definitely.
Because I was comparing, like Destiny to Warframe for a long time, and like honestly, I don't even feel like it's comparable anymore, just because of how bad of a job they're doing with it. Where Warframe is just a better game. They're a little different, but in a way they're really similar.
Space
and Warframe's just doing it better.
Looter shooters.
Exactly.
Basically,
grinders, grind it out.
Yeah,
get all the materials.
Yeah, it is like a good example of like Destiny being how to do it bad and Warframe being how to do it right. It's a good company. They tend to, honestly, they kind of stay out of the news just because they never do anything bad, which is a good thing. So
yeah, true. Honestly,
it's nice that they're now in the news for doing something cool that they didn't even need to do. Yeah, but just showed that they're good guys.
The people were talking about those digital extremes. I don't think we've mentioned that.
That is right. I wanted I wanted to say that, but I chickened out because I was afraid it'd be wrong. Yes, the company
We're
is
talking
called
about, we're
Digital
giving them
Extremes.
good, kudos. We need to
Yeah.
mention their
You're
name
right.
at least. We always
You're
mention
right.
the bad devs' names.
Yeah, we tell you who to shun. We never tell you who to praise. So good job, Digital Extremes, for being so wholesome and good to your community. We appreciate that. Next up on the list is something that Brady is going to be front running. Ubisoft just recently has been freed from their chains of the company known as Vivendi. Brady, why don't you tell us exactly what that means?
Yeah, sure. So before I go into it, you probably never heard of Vivendi, although they're behind a lot of things. They're like a French media conglomerate, and back in the day, they owned like Sierra Entertainment. They bought Blizzard and then created Activision Blizzard. For video games, they own like Gameloft and like Daily Motion, Vivo. Anyways,
Wow. That's a lot of
they're
companies.
they're a big media conglomerate, but yeah. So they also used to have a share in Ubisoft. I'm not sure exactly. I think it was like it used to be something like 25%, but then they dropped it down to like 12, and then they dropped it down even more to 5. But they're known for being really aggressive in their business style. A lot of companies they have now. I'll just use Gameloft as an example because of the Guillemot brothers. They're kind of they're related, but they actually took Gameloft in a hostile takeover. I won't go into too in depth, but it's pretty much just buying out all the shares or getting enough board members to agree to sell their shares to a company so that they could take it over. And you might think like, who cares? They own the company. They have they have a new boss, but what's the big deal? Well, in the media or video game industry, it could mean, a new creative direction, or maybe they control, they're your boss now. So they control what projects you work on, what games you develop. And, for Ubisoft, that could be really bad. They have a lot of huge, video game IPs that have a really loyal fan base, and you don't want someone buying you out and saying, all right, no more Far Cry games, or no more Assassin's Creed games, or Ghost Recon, or no more Tom Clancy. So they were afraid, with Vivendi back in the day, they kept creeping up, buying more and more shares, that they're gonna get a hostile Vivendi's gonna use hostile takeover to buy out Ubisoft. So one of the Guillemot brothers, I'm probably butchering their name, but he was the CEO of Gameloft, and so once Vivendi bought out Gameloft, he left Gameloft to go work for Ubisoft. And one of the other Ubisoft brothers, not Ubisoft, Guillemot brothers, he's the owner of Ubisoft, so then they were kind of team up to almost defend against Vivendi, the bad guy, to help them.
Vivendi.
Yeah, to help them survive. So getting the news, they found people to essentially buy Vivendi shares back, and I don't know exactly, but they're kind of like weird investment firms. One of them's like the Teachers Union of Canada or something weird like that. But I mean, honestly, hey, it's an investment, and video games are good returns right now, so why not?
Yeah.
And then
Especially
another
Ubisoft
one
being on the up and up.
Yeah, another one which is really interesting is Tencent, and we've mentioned Tencent plenty of times. They're the Chinese conglomerate that is behind the PUBG Mobile, and they own a lot of Epic Games, Riot Games, Supercell. They bought a 5% chunk in Ubisoft. But anyways, so Ubisoft is free from Vivendi now, and when they sold the shares, they actually made Vivendi sign a contract. I shouldn't say made, but I'm assuming they agreed that Vivendi will sign a contract so they can't buy any more shares within the next 5 years. So they don't really have to worry, about a hostile takeover from Vivendi for 5
I really
years.
don't
at
like
least.
these guys.
Yeah. But I mean, Vivendi's they're really aggressive. I was reading from back when they started, they're like a environmental company with water and stuff. Their first company they bought was they got was a hostile takeover back in like the 1800s. I was like, damn.
So they've
Oh
just
wow,
always
so this
been
company's
aggressive.
been around for a long time.
Yeah, they started off as like, I don't know, the original name was French, but then it kind of merged, and then now the modern day one is focusing a lot on content creation and media, as you know they own those other companies. But yeah, I think it's really interesting how Tencent bought a 5% stake in Ubisoft. Now that Vivendi's gone, you'd think that they'd want to be free from the corporate conglomerates, but they people think, I'm reading this articles from GameIndustry.biz, and the author of the article thinks that this is almost like a business partnership with Ubisoft, because Ubisoft wants to have their games released in China. So to show Tencent, to show how serious they are, they like bought a stake in Ubisoft's company to say like, hey, like we really want to work with you, and to show how serious we are, here's a lot of money. Which they've done before with like I think Nintendo did it with another developer company, just kind of like a common practice for to show seriousness. But anyways, yeah, Ubisoft's free.
It's interesting because I remember me and Brady first found this article a couple of days ago, and then we like dove down the rabbit hole of like just the business side of the game industry. There's a lot of like business that's going on behind the scenes that we never hear about, really, except for these like rare moments where these big things happen. But like there's a lot of back and forth with these companies, and like these kind of things can heavily affect the outcome of what games come out. Like Brady said, they could tell them like no more Assassin's Creed games, and if they're the owner of your company, then there's nothing you can do. So it's pretty cool, but it is also very lengthy and in depth. So I'll put some articles for any of you who are interested in reading about it. But yeah. So
the other thing I wanted to almost compare Vivendi in a way to EA, because EA is known for shutting down developers. Like we were just mentioning earlier, how we were afraid BioWare might get wiped out from EA. I think in a way Vivendi was like kind of doing that, or that's how they're looked at, as we're afraid that they're gonna just shut down games or other dev companies.
That is true. It does seem that way, at least. The fact it's just weird that the fact that they're like known for doing hostile takeovers, and that's like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's such a negative phrase, anyways. So
I mean, yeah, but I mean, that's, I don't know what they expect, really. Like, Ubisoft was afraid of it, and
so with reason, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, with that out of the way, we can move on to another new Battle Royale game that's coming out. It's called Maverick Proving Grounds. It was just shown at GDC last weekend. Essentially, it is a minimum 400 person up to 1,000 player Battle Royale games.
Big old servers.
Big. I don't know. I think that's a mistake. I think just off the bat, like that sounds cool on paper. I think it's a bad idea. It's assuming a lot, basically.
The last game to come to mind that did giant servers like that is PlanetSide 2.
Yes.
And it worked. It just the game's crashed a lot and stuff, but
it was really laggy.
if they could pull it off, it'd be pretty cool, because I mean PlanetSide 2 worked. If you have a giant map
awesome.
like that, I think it'd be really, it's a new take on the Battle Royale series.
It is, but I have a lot of worries with it, because first of all, either you need a gigantic map to host all these players, which means you're going to have ridiculously long games.
That was the main thing I was thinking of too.
Yeah, or you have like, let's say the PUBG map size, which is pretty damn big, but with 1,000 people, there'd be people every 2 steps, and it'd be utter chaos, which I think that'd be kind of like cool. Just like you're in a constant like crazy firefight from the moment you drop till it's just 2 of you left. But I think like the fact that it's a 400 player minimum, is just assuming that your game is going to be very successful. And I'm not
Yeah.
like 400 players. That's not hard to do, but it's very
Ambitious.
confident. Yeah, it's very ambitious of them to go out the gate with that, and that honestly though, the fact that that's such a bold stance, that alone might be enough to bring people in to check it out, and then if they like it, they will stay. But yeah, I worry if I worry about the length of games, because if it is like, to put in perspective, like an average Fortnite game takes about 20 minutes. I'd say an average PUBG game is more about like 30 to 40.
Yeah.
And that's with 100 players
Yeah.
on a
Times that by
decently
10.
sized map.
I mean,
Yeah. You could have like 2 hour long games, and that means
easily.
either you're going to only be appealing to the hardcore audience who has that type of time to put in, or your game's gonna fizzle out. Which I hope doesn't happen, because there is a lot of other cool stuff about the game. There is a gameplay demo, I believe, that they showed, and it has a neat little tracking system in the game that's like, if you stomp through the mud and like run through some bushes and stuff, it shows like your footprints are left behind, and it shows like the kind of crumpled up bushes and stuff, so people can see that and know that, ooh, somebody's been here. It's still very early, so I have a lot of questions about that out the gate. Like, that still doesn't mean like how long ago was that, those kind of things. Like, they may add in some sort of system to say, but it's very ambitious. Like we said, it's got a lot going for it. I worry for its future, but I'll be definitely excited to check it out when it comes out. Like, it sounds cool.
I'm excited to see. I really like that tracking feature. It's going to be cool to kind of hunt down players. I'm assuming it's going to be a pretty big map.
Oh,
the fact that
Just
it
based off of the
has a
clues.
tracking thing makes me think that like it's got to be a big map, because
Yeah.
if it were a PUBG map with 1,000 people, you wouldn't be able to use that
insane.
tracking system, because you look 2 feet to your left and there'd be
Yeah.
10 people there.
Yeah, you wouldn't need
You
it.
know, so it probably is going to be a big map.
Yeah.
Also, we should mention it's running on Unreal Engine,
Okay. Yeah.
developed
Yes.
by Automaton Games.
Have
Also-
they
Shout out to
have
the UK,
they
I
made
believe.
anything else we know about? I've never heard of them.
Yeah. I don't think I've
being
heard them
honest.
either. But
I don't. They've worked on other things previously, but nothing that comes to mind.
Nothing big, or at least as ambitious as this, perhaps.
yeah, I'm also interested to see. Because I don't think they actually have the 400 person games actually working right now.
No, they don't. We should also mention that too. It's smaller scale.
Yeah.
Looks like they're
So-
focusing
Makes
on like
sense.
the getting everything right on a small scale before they upscale it to.
Yeah, so I'm
400
interested
to 1,000
to
players.
see like the technology behind it, because like you have like the servers must be insane for that. Because think of PUBG, and just as an example, like even 100 players, it could be pretty, latency could be pretty bad. And I know like in playing it side, like I get even like FPS drops just because of how bad and it's lagging, how much stuff you have to like render in and get in. Like the servers must be insane behind having 1,000 people like pinging in, once to one game. Like I'm really interested to see like how they're gonna do that, or like what the technology behind it is to get
I feel
that
like the
done.
majority of your budget would have to go into your servers and stuff.
Because I mean, I guess Unreal Engine, so it's not like they're developing a new engine or anything. And I wonder if also I'm not too sure, but I wonder if Unreal has restrictions, because I don't know how Unreal is with the like back ends or the multiplayer kind of aspect of it. Because what comes to mind is like Amazon Web Services. I know they're like really integrated with that kind of stuff, and you could do a lot of things with that. So I mean, I'm just interested to see what technology they'll be used to get that done.
I think it's a matter more so of like I'm sure they have it like locked down, like in a basic sense, but it like a lot of that kind of stuff comes down to your programmers and making sure that there's no like data cache leaks with any of your assets or anything.
Oh yeah,
because that's what causes servers to crash. It's like it just like keeps spilling into the server like this like unnecessary like data and information, and eventually it gets to the point to where the server can't handle it and just dies.
Yeah.
So
interesting
sure.
to see.
Hopefully, they know how to not do that because that's
Well, it
fairly
can
basic
definitely
stuff.
handle 100 players. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah,
if it can
yeah,
400.
yeah. We know
Just-
100.
Add times 10, and we'll see. It's cool though.
Yeah.
That sounds
Times
really
4.
exciting and fun. Like I'm bagging on it a lot, but like it does sound really fun.
Yeah,
I like the
yeah,
idea
no.
of it. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think is there gonna be more of that at E3? Did they say?
Honestly, at this point, I'm just assuming everything will be 83.
I mean, yeah, if they got a demo at GDC, then there's probably gonna be more stuff at E3.
There will be more at
Yeah.
E3, yeah. They mentioned that there will be more.
Cool.
And also, there's a beta coming this summer. You should sign up for it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good. Is there a
Yeah.
website for that already?
It's just their, I think it's like mavericks.gg. I could be wrong about that. We'll link it, but
Yeah.
We'll find it.
It's
and
just
we
on
will
their
put a
main
link for
website.
it. That's cool.
mm-hmm.
That's exciting. This is fun. GDC brings out a lot of like stuff to talk about. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why we have so much to talk about this time around. It's because
Yeah.
GDC just happened. But yeah, that's always exciting to see what comes. And speaking of, this is something Austin's very excited about. Something called the NVIDIA RTX. I really don't know much about this, Austin, so tell me a bit about it.
Okay, so at GDC, Epic Games showed off some demos using the Unreal Engine, using this RTX technology, ray tracing technology. And I'm pulling this from a VG247 article. It kind of dumbs it down because I didn't quite understand how technology works. But ray tracing allows game engines to produce real-time lighting, shadows, and reflections that imitate their real-world counterparts. It essentially makes real-time scenes in games indistinguishable from CGI in blockbuster movies. So basically, from what I understand, game developers won't have to spend like countless hours setting up the right lighting and reflections by hand. I think the engine will handle a lot of it, and they'll just kind of have to do like a case-by-case basis and kind of fine-tune some stuff here and there. So I feel like that's what that is capable of doing. Like I said,
Interesting.
it's kind of a lot of it's a little confusing.
Very-
So
Yeah.
read
They
up on it
Technical
on your own.
jargon.
it's
Yeah.
a lot. It's really good for making things look more realistic. They showed
yeah,
like a little short film with like Star Wars like stormtroopers, and it looked like you were watching The Last Jedi. Like it was almost indistinguishable.
yeah, it was
looked
crazy.
it looked great, and
We'll
it's
leave
like
that.
it could also be used for like face tracking. They showed another video, and it was like Ex Machina style of
Oh yeah,
like
what was
recognition.
the name of
That's cool.
the name of the AI they made?
yeah, I don't even know. Like
That was
yeah,
freaky.
they made a digital human. They didn't even call it
Yeah.
like AI, but yeah, it looks really cool, and they said it'll be here by the end of this year, hopefully. But to go along with that though, they kind of partnered up with NVIDIA, and NVIDIA made new GPUs. It was they made a whole new system. Do you remember what it's called, Austin? I don't. It was like
You're talking about like the computer that it was running on, the demo
Yeah.
was running on.
yeah.
Yeah, it was NVIDIA DGX station, which
Okay.
goes for about $60,000.
Oh, is that
So-
all?
Yeah,
so-
I mean,
So you're not going to be seeing this anytime soon on your home PC, but
yeah.
like
No.
Brady said, it'll be available at the end of the year for people on the Unreal Engine to use, or developers on the Unreal Engine. 4A Studios, which is releasing Metro Exodus soon, they mentioned that they'll be using some form of this in their game. So that's kind of exciting to see it in use already.
Yeah, but NVIDIA also released a new new GPUs. They're called Volta GPUs, and they're named like Tesla or whatever, something like P1 Tesla or something. And they're like insanely powerful. In comparison, they also had something called like the CUDA GPUs, and they were kind of like the next ones for rendering. A lot of animation companies and stuff that had like render farms, they'd use like those with CPU, like server CPUs and stuff. they kind of, now this is like kind of like the new line of that. So that I think they start at like $6,000 or something. I don't remember, but they're insanely powerful. They said that one GPU is like what, like 10 CPUs or something inside of it, like the
Something
rendering
ridiculous.
power of like 10 CPUs. So they're really powerful. That's what we're trying to get at. But but the reason why we're bringing this up for video games is, you know, because it's almost like these video games now are gonna just be like insanely realistic looking, and it'll just look awesome. If you guys just need to watch that Star Wars short film, and you'll realize what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It looks so cool.
Another thing to mention is this isn't really new technology per se, but it's now becoming economically feasible to use it in game development. You know, Hollywood uses this in, you know, their movies and stuff. So this is just kind of
I didn't know that,
bringing it
actually.
into
Video games.
gaming development.
Rad.
I'm excited.
It's really cool.
Really excited.
Yeah.
It is very exciting. I guess the future, man, we said it before, technology is rapidly advancing. I wonder at a point, like, you know, with at least with games like that are so hyper realistic, like can it keep getting more realistic, or is it like, do you hit a peak at some point, you know?
Yeah.
That's-
12K
I feel like-
monitors.
yeah.
Also, like war games and stuff, when it's so realistic like that, I feel like
Can
Yeah,
give
it's
yourself
start
like
getting into
real
ethical
PTSD.
yeah.
there's gonna be a disconnect there, you know.
That's true.
That's some.
But that's for another time when that's a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, the future is now.
And speaking of the future, our last bit of news, I believe EA had an AI playing some Battlefield 1. Like very, very high-end intelligent AI. Essentially, the way it worked, they watched players play the game and learned from them, and then begun playing against other like bots, and learned as they went.
Do trial
Right?
and error. Yeah.
Yeah. And that sounds very simple, but that's like insane. The fact that, like, I don't know, like we have computers that are watching and learning from humans and then adapting from what they see and improving on it. That's some Skynet crap right there. That's
Also, they even like picked up ammo and health when they started to run low. Granted, in this, it was just, you know, red cubes or gray cubes. You know what I mean? Like,
but the fact that they're aware that, like, hey, my health is low, I should go run back and find some health, you know.
yeah, exactly.
That's
Pretty interesting stuff.
That's a decent level of complex thinking that we don't normally see in like enemy bots in video games.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was just gonna say, that's a, you know, if you're wondering how it relates to you playing video games, you don't want, you know, if someone leaves the game, let's just say like, you know, Rocket League, because I know that happens a lot. You know, if someone in Rocket leaves the game, you don't want, you know, your bot to just run into the wall or hit your ball into the goal. You know, you actually want them to be like somewhat feasible and be able to compete with the actual player on the other team.
Yeah.
I mean, if AI and Rocket League start doing like air juggles, it's over. Like, I might as well stop playing the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is very cool. Yeah, the big way it integrates into us is like, you know, making your single player games like actually have more challenge with like smart enemies and stuff. It's a really cool thing. It's super future way of learning computers. I'm not gonna lie, it does like, it's always the least bit like makes me nervous. It's just like, at some point, you know, these computers who are talking and learning from each other are gonna be like, hey, I could do this way better than humans. Check this out, and then just like destroy the world.
No.
Maybe.
Yeah. So machine learning and hyper realism, the future is bright or dark, depending on how you look at it.
True.
Depending on your outlook, yeah. It's cool either way though. If you like technology is rad, and it's rapidly growing and changing, and you know, by this time next year, things could be radically different. We could be talking about, you know, supercomputers making and building their own video games for us to play. You know, who knows?
Really.
But yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see. With all that, that wraps up all our news. So we're going to give you our little closing statements, which is just on this day in games. Essentially what that is, if you are unaware. We look back into the delves of history to see what video game related events have happened on this day. And so we each picked out one thing. So Austin, you can say your thing first.
Oh, okay. BioShock Infinite.
Came
March
out this
26th,
this day,
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That game was one of my favorites of all time. It was like one of the few games that's actually left me depressed after finishing it. It was like an emotional roller coaster, and it will always kind of sit in my mind as one of my most favorite gaming experiences.
Definitely an iconic game.
Yeah, and it was a single player, so that's just pure story.
That is true.
But yeah,
Cool.
On this day in gaming, Pillars of Eternity, March 26, 2015, was released. Pillars of Eternity is a very old school styled RPG. If you've ever heard of games like Baldur's Gate, which are just basically D&D turned into a video game, this was supposedly like a remake of those kind of games, like really hardcore, really in-depth role-playing games that you'd sink hundreds and hundreds of hours in. And I've played a little bit of it, but it is very complicated. And so I just slowly pick at it over time, but it's awesome. It was a very, very well-received game. It was a Kickstarter game too. So I figured that was worth mentioning. Brady, what you got?
All right. Yeah. So on this day, gaming, The Sims House Party came out, 2001. Now, everyone's like, "Oh, it's a video game expansion." That's but that was before like DLC was a thing. But it resonates with me because The Sims was one of the first PC games I played, and I remember The Sims House Party was probably one of the first like DLCs I bought. But The Sims House Party, it was like a DLC or an expansion, but it still took like 8 discs to install. And I was it came in like a big thing, and I remember trying to figure out how to install it. It was so hard. Like it just, I don't know what it was, back then in my early PC days. And I remember shortly after this, I actually bought my first graphics card because I think I wanted to play like Age of Empires or something, but my like computer is too bad, so we had to go out and buy this high end little card. But anyways, Sims House Party, great video game expansion for The Sims.
Back in the day when expansions were actually expansions and not like the rest of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's awesome. There's 3 little things for y'all to remember for history's sake. With all that said, thank you all for listening in. If you want to keep up with us on any of our platforms, you can find us at GamersGrove.net, at Facebook at GamersGrove Media, Twitter at GamersGrove, or my own Twitter handle at GamersGroveWill. We have our Discord. We have our Steam. I think I got everything.
I think
there's
so.
basically a lot of places you can keep up with us, and we would love it if you did. With all that said, thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week.